In this video, we'll break down the tactics that saw City fall to their 8th league defeat of the season. Liverpool started the game without a recognised striker in a 4-2-4 formation. Gravenberch and McAllister played in a familiar double pivot. Jones and Szoboszlai played the roles of hybrid strikers, where they would drop back into the midfield, giving Liverpool a very narrow shape, and plenty of players in the midfield. The positioning of the two hybrid strikers dropping off Liverpool's front line into positions either side of City's single pivot, new signing Nico Gonzalez, gave him two players to cover. This meant that one of the centre-backs would need to jump out and press when receiving the ball, dragging the centre-back further out of his comfort zone. Could see longer passes being made to the wingers, making diagonal runs in behind to exploit this space. From a position in the centre, Szoboszlai, operating between the lines, moved over to the right to build combinations with Salah. This clever movement pulled City's single pivot away from the centre, opening up huge gaps for Jones to operate. Szoboszlai's clever movement created a 2 versus 1 on the City fullback, meaning Ake would have to cover this space, creating further gaps for Jones and Diaz to exploit. Although not having much of the possession in this tie, Liverpool's rotations caused City some problems. Liverpool looked to build overloads down the right, with Jones taking up positions in the space outside, while Alexander-Arnold covered in the centre. The double pivot of Gravenberch and McAllister moved up between the lines, giving the City centre-backs a dilemma. Their positioning between the lines allowed Liverpool to do something they have been doing all season, and that is get Szoboszlai and Salah working together on the right. This was evident in Liverpool's second. Gravenberch's position between the lines takes the attention of Nico Gonzalez, and Szoboszlai is supporting Salah on the right, so this sees them immediately have a 2 versus 1 on Gvardiol. Although Ake is covering, he needs to pay attention to Jones's position. Arriving in the box late, Szoboszlai is able to find space to finish. City pressed in their starting shape of 4-1-4-1. Foden, operating as the lone striker, took up positions between the Liverpool centre-backs to cut off passing lanes between them and force Liverpool down one side. City's pressing intensity was not strong enough or tight enough, and this often allowed Liverpool to have central progression to one of the hybrid forwards. At other times though, City's pressing, when using the sideline as an extra defender, was effective at forcing Liverpool into longer, less accurate passes down the line. In the second half, Guardiola adapted his pressing shape by instructing Omar Mamouche to push higher on the centre-back, much more quickly, meaning that Foden covered Van Dijk and Mamouche covered Konate. This saw City change from their 4-1-4-1. Doku narrowed to join De Bruyne in covering the pivots. These were both hybrid roles, as when the ball went to a fullback, they pressed covering passes infield with their cover shadow. Gonzalez and Lewis then covered Jones and Szoboszlai when they dropped between the lines. Here, in pressing Liverpool man-to-man, City have forced Liverpool to play a hurried ball down the line, and Nico Gonzalez's tracking of Szoboszlai sees City win the ball back and instantly hit the Liverpool back line with a blocked shot. And later, after Gonzalez was replaced by Kovacic, wins the ball back from Alexander-Arnold's pass out of defence. City actually mimicked Liverpool's shape in possession. Marmoush and Foden dropped into midfield areas, taking up positions in and around the pivot. The difference was though that they were unable to find immediate space here because of Liverpool's double pivot, as opposed to City's single pivot. The wingers held the width and the depth of the pitch, while De Bruyne looked to support the winger to build combinations. So because of Liverpool's double pivot, Foden had to come much deeper in order not to cover a pivot, for which Liverpool were happy to let him do, with the double pivot protecting the back four instead. Foden was able to play passes out to the flanks behind a Liverpool fullback. The other difference was that Liverpool were much happier to defend from deep rather than pressing. Look at this chart and it's clear that City had a plan to reach the byline and cut the ball back for Marmoush and Foden arriving in the box. City had a lot of successful dribbles, especially from Doku, but Liverpool crowded out the penalty box. Liverpool's lack of press meant that Ederson could assist with the build-up, giving City an initial back three, with Gvardiol positioning himself further up, while Lewis inverted to form a double pivot. Liverpool's mid-block 4-2-4 focused mainly on the two forwards covering passes into the City pivots, while the wingers tucked in and covered the opposite wingers when they received, and as a result, the City centre-backs had plenty of time on the ball, with Kusanov having the most touches and passes of the game. McAllister was initially tasked with marking De Bruyne, so when drifting over to the right, McAllister tracked and Liverpool often had a back five. Once again, City were beaten by a ball over the top in transition, and despite having the lion's share of possession, looked toothless without Haaland. A league double over City has seen the gap open up to 11 points, and City fighting for the chance to compete in next season's Champions League. Thanks for watching.